Hello, I'm Ashley Hutson, and I'm here with my friend Jacob Maleko today, and we're doing a lesson on a little reading comprehension and using the questioning strategy when reading to ask questions and learn about what you're reading about and to recall information later. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Jacob, do you remember the lesson that we did last week, the first lesson? Do you remember what the story was about?
Patrick playing board games with his family.
That's right. That's exactly right. He was playing board games with his family. Do you remember where he was playing board games with his family?
In his basement.
That's right. Good job. He was playing video games with his family in the basement. Fantastic. So we're going to read a new story today that so we're going to do the same thing, but it's a little different story. So I'm going to read the first paragraph, and then we're going to do the second paragraph together, and then I'll let you read the third paragraph by yourself, and we're going to do questions and try to recall some information about what we just read. And then in the end, I'm going to give you a little assignment, hopefully, that you can do over the weekend before our next lesson, okay? So I'm going to read the first one. Jacob, do you see anything here that might tell us what this story is about before we get started? What can we judge by looking at some of the words on the page and some of the context and the clues? What is this story about?
A parade.
Okay.
And people moving something really big.
Okay. People moving something really big. All right. Fantastic. That's a great observation. So the name of this story is The Big Move. So like I said, I'm going to read the first paragraph, and then we'll ask some questions about it, try to remember what I read about. So here, The Big Move. It looked like a parade. People lined the streets, traffic was stopped, and utility wires had been raised by supporting them with tall poles. Police were stationed at every intersection, and news trucks were parked beside the street. A reporter stood on the street beside the truck, microphone in hand. So one question I might want to ask is, who was stationed at every intersection? Can you tell me? Do you remember what we just read? Who was stationed at every intersection?
Police.
Police. Good job. And how were the telephone wires, how are they being held up for this parade? Does it say in there how the wires are being held up?
From the tall poles.
That's right, tall poles. That's exactly right. And who was standing by their truck on the street corner? Do you remember who was standing by their truck?
The reporter.
Good job, the reporter. See, this is easy. You nailed all three of those questions. Fantastic. All right, so we're going to read this one together, okay? Then I'm going to ask you some questions about it, and then you're going to read the third one by yourself, okay? So let's read this one together. From far down Main Street came the sound of people clapping. It rolled up the street like a wave, and soon everyone on the sidewalks could see the object of the applause. The applause wasn't for a parade, but for something much more exciting. The Tory house was being moved from its original site to a vacant lot in the center of town. Good job. All right. So, from what we just read, do you remember where the parade was taking place? Do you remember what street the parade was on?
Main Street.
That's right, Main Street. Good job. What were the people doing when they saw the house coming down the street? What type of sound were they making? Do you remember?
Clapping.
Clapping, that's right. And what's a lot of clapping called? It's called what?
Applause.
Applause. Good job. Good job. And now here's a very detailed question. See if you remember this one. What was the name of the house that was being moved at the time? Do you remember?
A Tory.
The Tory house, that's right. So the Tory house must have some very important meaning to everybody in town for them to be moving. Could you imagine people trying to move your house and put it somewhere else? It'd be crazy to see, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm gonna have you read this paragraph, and then when you get finished with it, we'll ask some questions. If you want to start, you can start right here, and then you can read all the way down to there.
Do you really think you are getting good pictures? Asked Mona. She had turned off the recorder for a moment and looked at Ken. I practiced this for weeks, answered Ken. I took videos from this spot twice a week for a month. I even marked the sidewalk with chalk so I'd be standing in the same spot after I took the video. I looked it over to be sure I got the best angle. Don't worry, it will be okay.
All right. Yeah. All right. Good job. Fantastic. All right. So let's go back and look at what we read. What was Mona using to what was Mona using to talk to her friend? What was she using to talking to Ken? Do you remember? And it's okay to review the text and look for the answer if you have to. She used a recorder, okay? So she was using a recorder to speak with Ken, probably because she was interviewing him or asking him some questions about the event going on. So that was kind of a tricky one. She used a recorder to talk to Ken. All right, so let's go to another question. How long did Ken practice taking pictures? You remember how long he practice taking pictures?
A month.
A month? Good job. That's right there. He said, I took videos from this spot for a month. Good job. And do you remember what he used to mark his spot with?
Chalk.
Chalk. Good job. He marked his spots with chalk. Excellent. And what were they trying to record? We talked about it in the first paragraph. Now go back and try to see if you can still remember. What were they recording this whole time? Do you know? What were they talking about? What were they recording? What was the camera being used for? And why did they put chalk on the street?
They were recording a big Tory house getting moved from its original spot.
That's exactly right. And by listening to that, and that's a great answer. Do you know what the word maybe original means compared to where it's going? You know what original means? So original, if you look at the context of this, the original site was the first one that it was built on. So it was moving to a different part of town. So the original site is where it was built the first time, and then they're going to move it to another site. Okay, so that was good. So let's just sum up what we just talked about. What was the main point of this story? What was the whole idea about? What was the big move coming?
Well,
What was the big move? What was to make a summary of what we just read about? What big item was being moved?
a Tory house from
That's right, the Tory house. And it was moving down what?
the main street.
That's right, it was moving down Main Street to its new location. Good job. All right, well that was good. You did good. So what I want us to do now is when we have another lesson next week. We're gonna focus on maybe a different strategy. But what I want you to do in the meantime is I want you to do something called in reading. It's called the 3-2-1 method. Okay. Before next week, I want you to read this lesson, and we're gonna do like the 3-2-1 method. I want you to write down 3 things that you discovered with this reading. Okay, 3 things you discovered. Then I want you to write down 2 things that you found interesting about this story. Okay, and then the last one is I want you to write down 1 question that you still have about the story. Okay, so it's 3-2-1 method. 3 things you discovered, 2 things you found interesting, and 1 question that you still have. Okay, can you do that for me before next week?
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. All right. Have a good day, buddy.